On your Tuesday episode of Locked On Raptors, the Raptors fall in a stinker to the Portland Trailblazers at home, 99-91. This offense is absolutely untenable, and are the vibes maybe hanging by a thread too? We'll get into all that and more on today's show with Vivek Jacob coming up. Thanks for hanging.
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Locked On Raptors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It is Tuesday, October the 31st. Happy Halloween out there. Nothing going to be spookier than what we saw from the Raptors on offense in this game. I'll tell you that. I'm, of course, your host, Sean Woodley. I've been covering the Toronto Raptors now for 10 seasons on various platforms. You can find all my work over on the website that's broken at Woodley Sean. You can find the show on Instagram at Locked On Raptors, and you can join us in the Locked On Raptors Discord server where everything's fine. No one's panicking. No one's losing their mind. Some people are losing their mind. That's fine. We're all among friends in the Locked On Raptors Discord. Want to see you in there? Link is in the description. Come hang out. It's free to join, and you get to be part of our very cool community. And I guess, group therapy as well. If you want to do that, you can, of course, find the show for free wherever you get your shows on the podcast app of choice, or you can go to YouTube, hit the big subscribe button over there, and see mine and my lovely guest's face every single day. Get the notification bell on so you never miss an episode. Thank you for supporting the show. All right, on today's show, we are digging into a big old turd of a game. The Toronto Raptors fall to a not very good Portland Trailblazers team, 99-91. And here to break it all down is our pal Vivek Jacob, Big V, the Toronto Raptors. They're back. We thought they were back when they won a game last week, but no, this is the Raptors we know and love, right?
Yep. I mean, it started out pretty nice. We can start with the positives. It seemed like, you know what, we're gonna make a concerted effort to get Pascal the ball, and he's getting some touches and getting going. And then you've got Scottie playing with energy. You've got Yak getting involved, and before the game I was looking at, Precious is out. Yak, I really hope stays out of foul trouble. That type of thing. And things were starting off well. OG was back, and then. That's kind of the weird part when I look at this game. It's like
the good players were good.
Good players were good, but I think the weird part for me was, when you've got this youngish team that starts out strong at home, it's usually like the veteran, experienced teams, the known winners that are like, okay, you know what, we'll take that first punch and then we'll, sink our teeth into this and we'll chip away at it. And to see a younger team do that to them, that was troubling.
Discouraging to say the least to see them drop this game. By the way, I forgot to mention today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. We got to get the mention in here. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. We're gonna dig into the vibes question. How long can vibes last when you have games like this where it really did feel a lot like last season in terms of just like the general malaise over the team and the inability to get anything going? We'll get into the good, the bad, and the to round things out. Hopefully we have a bit of a positive spin, but let's start off with the big takeaway for me, Big V, which is that through 4 games, I feel pretty safe saying this offense is utterly untenable. It's a really bad offense, and I don't know if there are like obvious pathways to making it not a really bad offense. They came into this game as the number 30 half-court offense per clean the glass. And you think, hey, you know what? It's been rough go. But they're going up against the Blazers, who had the 29th ranked half-court offense. And look, they defended them pretty well in this game. The Blazers did not score well on offense in this game. 84.3 offensive rating for the Blazers in the half-court here. The Raptors defense, as it has been all season long, really bloody good. You hold the team to 99 points in the year of our Lord 2023. That should be a good thing. But this offense, man, it's just not getting anything going in the half court. 74.1 offensive rating in the half court against the Blazers. The Blazers, who came into this game, yes, small sample, with the 26th ranked half-court defense. Again, you thought, okay, this is their chance to kind of, it's like a practice game, basically. You get to run your stuff with impunity. You get to fly around off screens. You get to run pick and rolls without having to worry about Joel Embiid on the back line swatting shots. No, just DeAndre Ayton swatting shots and grabbing 7,000 rebounds. But really, man, this offense, I don't know where to begin. It's all bad. They shoot 4 of 29 from 3 in this game. You get nothing from the bench in terms of threes. We'll talk about Gradey Dick. He was awesome in this game, but he went 0 for 3 from deep. Gary Trent Jr. is kind of out there to shoot threes. He shot 1 and missed it. Malachi Flynn, 0 of 2, including just like a really nasty brick early in the fourth quarter when it seemed like a beautiful, Scottie's doubled, swing it around, get the corner 3 for Flynn. Oh, nope, no good. You get Jalen McDaniels continuing his 0 for stretch. He might compete for the Jerry Stackhouse Award. Sorry, the Jacques Vaughn Award over at our friends Fast Break Breakfast podcast, where they track to see whether someone will break the record set by Jacques Vaughn for missed shots to start a season. Jalen McDaniels, you're a contender. Vivek, what do they do about this offense, man? They've shot well from 3 for the most part outside of this game, and it was still bad. There's no space. It's a grim scene. What are your ideas, Coach V? Put your hat on. You're wearing a hat. Is it a coaching hat?
I mean, it's crazy, right? Like, they've shot 39% from 3 coming into this game, which was 7th best in the league, and you knew that wasn't going to last. And law of averages, it was going to have a performance like this coming up. And they are not a good 3-point shooting team. They do not have enough 3-point options. And so you get this 4 for 29 night. And as you've noted, even with the shooting in the previous games, the half-court offense has been extremely, extremely bogged down and just congested, and every kind of snotty type of description that you can put.
Anything that could be healed by Robitussin has been the offense. Can they pour some Robitussin on the floor?
Yeah, pretty much. And so, the ways in which the Raptors tried to gimmick the offense last year, those aren't as present now. And so you're looking at the other ways of gimmicking things, which is to have, hey, can we get Dennis Schroeder to put up, 4 or 5 3-pointers minimum up per game? Can we get Scottie to put 4 or 5 threes up a game? Pascal, and so these guys are going to just have to get up shots. Pascal goes 0 for 6 from 3 in this one. Otherwise, pretty good inside the 3-point arc.
15 on 2 is genuinely encouraging for Pascal after it's been really hard for him to get to his 2s. So, hey, score 1 for this looking all right for Pascal.
Exactly. And then the one guy you rely on for threes, obviously his first game back, he goes 2 for 9 from deep. And it's just going to make things look that much more difficult, because teams defending that are going to say, hey, we absolutely do not have to respect this shot. We're going to go under on every screen. You want to shoot it, go right ahead. And so I hate to say it, but we saw a little bit, at times against Philly, where you saw all of a sudden a trap on Maxey or a double on Embiid, and all of a sudden there's a turnover. And I do think you are going to have to find a bit more of that aggressiveness on defense with the right opposing players. I think young guys in Portland would be an option. I think with the history of Embiid getting double teamed, we've seen, I think those are times when you kind of do have to buckle down and just say, hey, this is actually the best defense for us, because it also helps our offense. So in terms of the coaching hat, I think that is kind of the only pathway. These guys aren't going to magically become legit 3-point shooters and aren't going to become, just these savant level playmakers and just create open looks after open looks. And so I think that is something that needs to be considered. And there are things that Nick Nurse did that were good. That makes sense. And
he milked as much as he could out of the team. We know this, right? Like
yeah,
his tactics were not necessarily. I think his defense got a little over the top by the end and kind of it like consumed itself almost. But like
100%. And I'm not saying
yeah,
that it has to go back to that by
yeah,
any stretch.
yeah.
I'm just saying you got to recognize situations where that can give you a lift, where that can sort of just ease the burden a little bit, right?
They scored, yeah. They scored 184.6 points per play or points per or 100 possessions in transition in this game per cleaning the glass. They got in transition 16.3% of the time. I talked at the start of the season, that 20% threshold is where this team is going to have to be if they want to hang. And if they were there tonight, they probably win this game. I think we're seeing that they're not really running as much off rebounds the last couple of games. It seems like the concerted effort to do that off of every single miss has maybe been lost a little bit. And I do think there are actually ways to milk more out of this half court, even with the limitations. And I talked about it on Monday's show. I think Dennis Schroeder's touching the ball too much. The stat came out. He's like top 10 in the league in touches. I'm sorry. Dennis Schroeder should not be top 10 in the league in touches. You have to, while you don't have real guard play on your team outside of Schroeder, you got to go to the next best thing, which is Pascal Siakam and Scottie Barnes with the ball in their hands, making stuff happen. And we saw that in this game. Their best moments were when they had Pascal and Scottie running the show. I like Dennis Schroeder. He's been a very good player so far. I like his playmaking. I like his ability to blow by a guy and just score. They don't have anyone with that element really on this team. And he's been a fantastic, fantastic guard defender. But you cannot have him running all of your possessions, just doing the Fred VanVleet thing. This is the thing everyone got mad at Fred VanVleet for last year. And he's not as good as Fred was at that. Like it's just not working with Dennis as sort of the leading initiator. There are too many possessions that have to be reset. Teams don't care. They're going under the screen. Give it to Pascal, give it to Scottie. Let those two dudes be the guys, and you might milk the 25th best half-court offense out of this team. And then again, we're running long here, but the thing that's really irritating about it is that they're wasting an incredible defense. This team has the juice to be one of the best defenses in all of basketball. And you saw it late in this game. They couldn't lean on it because there wasn't enough space on the floor. They take Jakob Poeltl out of the game. Gary Trent Jr. comes in. It's a parade of buckets for Malcolm Brogdon. They don't have the size to rebound against DeAndre Ayton. He's pulling in all sorts of offensive boards. And your one strength, which is your defense, becomes null because you took out your backline rim protector because the offense is so bad. It is ultimately a question of roster construction. I don't have any, there's only so much Darko can do. You can't make lemonade when you're given a bunch of apples. It's really hard to do that. And so it comes back to the roster construction. It also comes back to you can't have your best reserve being a 19-year-old theater kid. You just can't. I love Gradey Dick, but Gary Trent Jr. has got to be better. Jalen McDaniels needs to be better. Chris Boucher needs to be better. And if they are not, this team is going to have the same issue it had last year where you look at the box score and say, hey, the starters were good. Why did they lose by 9? Oh, it's because no one on the bench did anything and they can't shoot. Very similar script. That said, the defense, if we're looking for positives, still very good. And hopefully that's something they can kind of tap back into here and lean on as they try to figure out this offense, which will get better as time goes on, right? It's a new system. You're getting used to stuff. This is probably the worst we'll see it, but the early returns are not exactly riveting on what this offense is going to be able to produce. We'll come back into the side, Big V. Get into the vibes. You have a big takeaway from this game. I want you to get to it. We will do that momentarily. But first, got to tell you about our friends over at Game Time, which is the single best place to be going to buy tickets for your favorite sporting events. Right now, as I'm recording the show, I believe the sports equinox is happening where all of the major 4 men's leagues are playing games at the same time. Maybe you were smart and used Game Time to get last-minute tickets to one of those many events taking place on this glorious day on the sports calendar. Or maybe you want to do it later as the World Series continues, and there will be more days like this later on in the week. Game Time has last-minute deals for you to go and peruse right up to the start of your event, and even like an hour after your event starts. That's so you can save big time scratch when you go buy your tickets with Game Time. And they have the Game Time guarantee, which means you're always going to get the best price. If you find tickets at the same section and row for less somewhere else, Game Time will credit you with 110% of the difference. There is literally no reason not to use Game Time to buy tickets to your next sporting event. You can also get stuff for concerts, theater, whatever it might be, comedy. It's all there for you on Game Time. Super easy to use the app as well. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, we continue on here. We ran long in that first segment. By the way, we were going to try to go live for this. I wasn't trusting my internet connection tonight, but there will be some live late night reaction shows throughout the season, as that's just the thing everybody does now. You got to do live. You got to be there, meeting the people in the moment. We'll get the tech things sorted out as we go, but still coming at you here. Vivek Jacob, Sean Woodley, thank you for tuning in. Thanks for being everydayers. We love you very much. Big V, we ran through my big takeaway. I went way too long and ate into your time. Please take the floor. What was your biggest takeaway from this game?
My biggest takeaway is basically a question of how long can the good vibes last with losses like these? And for me, the reason that's a question is because the team is still in this in-between phase, right? And you're in this period where a lack of winning impacts vibes when the priority is still wins and losses and not wins and lessons, so to speak, right? And I think as long as you're in this place that Masai said, hey, you know, we changed the coach, we did this, now, hey, let's see what it looks like, right?
Yeah.
And that belief that, you know, things will be different from a wins and losses standpoint, and that there is like a good team here, I think that is what can kind of eat at the vibes. Because then you get into, hey, well, why isn't this happening? Why isn't X player performing? Why isn't you know, Gradey getting more minutes? Why is this struggle happening, right? Whereas if you make it clear cut in terms of, say, hey, we want to go in this youth direction, and you make the moves that reflect that, then
everyone knows what's up.
Everyone knows what's up. Everyone is in wins and lessons mode. And I think you come into practice, you come into games with a bit of a different mindset. Not saying that you want to like create any type of negative culture of, you know, where the, you know, you kind of suggesting that winning isn't the priority, but you are putting development at the forefront. And as long as you are in this in-between phase, then I do think that does put pressure on the vibes.
Yeah, I mean, I do think we're probably a little early to sound the vibes alarm just yet. Like we're one.
Oh,
win.
I'm not saying the vibes have been impacted tonight.
Yeah,
right?
no, sure. Yeah.
I'm just saying you get, as these types of losses pile up, then, you know, if this team is 5-15,
yeah,
and it's still the same makeup where you haven't specifically said, hey, we're going young, oh, you know, we want that play-in spot, you know, I think that's where it starts to really eat at you.
Yeah, especially if like trade stuff becomes the thing that hangs over the team again, which it inevitably will happen probably at some point this year, barring them being well over 500 by the time December 15th rolls around. Which, boy, that would be really nice. I don't want to talk about trades anymore. It bums me out. It's bad. But like, it's going to be inevitable if this is the course they're on. You know, we don't know the internal messaging, right? Like, you know, it could be that, hey, you know, they realize they bungled one tonight and there's a positive, all right, we'll learn from this one and go forward within the team and within the Darko circle of trust and all of that. But we don't know that from the outside. All we know from the outside is the front office has yet to make a decision as to what the plan is for the team. And so all you're left to do is infer what each loss is going to do to the internal dynamics of the team. Even if I certainly believe that Darko has the power of vibes within him. And, you know, what is the extent of that, right? How much can vibes paper over a roster that has no shooting or guard play? That's an interesting question. We're probably going to learn that this season. You know, I think we're learning that scheme can only do so much to overcome that. Look at all the passes. Look at so many passes, 70% assist rate. Offense is terrible. It's like the worst in the league. Like, you know, there's, you know, scheme can only do so much to overcome personnel. You're seeing scheme work very well in concert with great personnel on the defensive end. It's working great. But yeah, like it could get ugly if this persists. I think things will improve, and I'm not like sounding any alarms just yet as far as the overall season or anything like that. It's 4 games. Like, people have bad 4-game stretches. It happens all the time. When it happens at the start of the season, everybody gets super upset about it because it's the only games you have on the ledger. But, these things even out over time. That said, man, this offense stinks. I don't know how you're going to get it. Back to the original take. They're making my vibes bad because I want to watch better offense. I mean, I suppose one thing that could uplift the vibes is Scottie Barnes looks awesome, right? Like that's helping matters a little bit. Any sort of like, is that a salve? Can Scottie Barnes do it all? Can he save the vibes just by being really, really, really good? 20, 12, and 2 again tonight, 2 steals, a block. He's just stuffing the stat sheet. Looks awesome. Had the thumb thing that looked like it might derail him earlier in this game, and totally fine. Totally took over in the third quarter. 16 of his 20 points came there. Would have been nice if he had closed it out with a little bit more in the fourth quarter, but the vibes around Scottie at least seem to be pretty good. And I think is like the vibe of the fan base, not the team. I feel like the vibe of the fan base should not be just despair just yet, because the 2 most important young guys are doing things that are very exciting. No?
Yeah, for sure. I think Scottie, I love the competitive spirit and the fire that he's been playing with.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think that's probably the one thing we were looking at from, fourth quarter Scottie, to be like, hey, let's have that force all throughout the game. Right. And I think we've seen a progression in that sense. And I think, you like to see the game against Philly where the tech happens and then he's the one kind of really pushing the issue and really trying to get this team back into the game. Obviously it didn't happen, but there was that brief stretch where he was really pushing things. And then again, I thought in this one, he was trying to do all he could. And there were stretches where he just flat out took over. And I think that him progressively being like, this is my team and I am special enough for that to be the case, is probably going to, make things very clear on how things should go from here. And that's all you can ask for, right? Because if the biggest part of Masai saying, hey, let's see what it looks like, is Scottie answering the bell in year 3 and saying, hey, year 2 was an aberration, or year 2 was just part of the process of me getting to where I'm supposed to be and where this front office has envisioned him getting to, then that clarity should trickle down to everyone else, right? And I think the sooner we get there, the sooner we are then able to just say, hey, let's watch Scottie in full bloom. Let's get Gradey more minutes. Let's see, hopefully Christian Coloco is able to get back in the mix at some point. Let's see everything that he's got to bring to the table. Depending on the pieces that you move, let's see what some better roster construction looks like.
Better roster construction? Crazy talk. No way. Yeah, I mean, Scottie's got me feeling good, man. Even if they're going to lose these games and Scottie's going to have these little stretches where he just owns everybody for a little while, you know what? That can entertain me over the course of the season. I'm cool. And I do think tonight was like a pretty promising sign as far as proof of concept that Scottie with Pascal as his sidekick can work under the right circumstances. It's just that the rest of the roster doesn't exactly line up the right circumstances all the time. One guy who might help that is Gradey Dick, who we're going to talk about coming up in just a sec, I'm sure, as we get into the good, the bad, and the to round out the show. For that, we got to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel, the #1 sports book in all the land. You got to go check them out, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Simple as that. You can use that $150 on all sorts of stuff like spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Maybe you want to go take the under on the Toronto Raptors scoring total for every single game all season. I bet you'll win some money on that, unless Vegas is getting wise and setting it at like 74.5. We're not too far off from like era-adjusted Kevin O'Neal level offense that this Raptors team is putting out right now. If you want to go and get in on that and win some money, at least while the Toronto Raptors score in the 90s, while every team is in the 130s, you can go ahead and do that. The app is, again, super easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options. So visit fanduel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season or the NBA season or whatever season you're enjoying here on this sports equinox. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL and of the Locked On Podcast Network. All right, we continue. Rounding the show out here, Vivek Jacob is along as we try to have some good thoughts about this game against the Portland Trailblazers. It is, of course, the good, the bad, and the everybody's favorite, very good named segment to close out our game recap shows here on the pod. Let's start with the good. I'll just go in. Gradey Dick, he didn't hit his threes tonight. I don't care. The dude knows how to play basketball, and it's awesome. Saw him put it on the deck a couple times in this one. The threes are going to fall. We saw them fall against the Sixers. I have no doubt they are going to fall as he gets more comfortable. And it's been really encouraging to see him have the minutes total ramp up. 28 minutes in the game Saturday, just 21 tonight, but he played a lot in the second half, was on the floor in the fourth quarter as the Raptors were making a game of it. Just really, really encouraging signs. The dude knows where to go for rebounds. 6 boards in this game, cleaning up the defensive glass, crashing the offensive glass, constantly moving to the empty spots on the floor. It's going to make everybody's life easier. He might be one of the avenues by which the Raptors can turn this thing around on the offensive end with some interesting lineup constructions. Gradey Dick, I think, is going to feature into a lot of their best lineups this season based on what we've seen so far. It's really exciting, man. Gradey Dick rules.
Yeah, man. I think we've kind of talked about the floor game and him being more of a shooter, more than a shooter, rather. And it's really nice to see how quickly he's learning, right? And we saw kind of moments as early as Summer League, right? Where we'd see him have a bad half and then just really learn from it and then come back and have a much better second half. And I think we're seeing that IQ, that understanding, like him picking things up. There's the physical limitations in terms of his body, which you're just going to have to accept, and that's just a reality of his rookie season.
Sure.
But I think the things that you really want to see grow, we're already seeing the right things, the things that you would hope to see. And I thought he's had some really, really nice drives so far this season. And then also, like, obviously there's times where he's going to get blocked, and he's going to understand timing, and he's going to understand, how quick the NBA bigs are in getting to a spot, and he'll understand better, when to kick it out, when to go all the way with it. But I think there's like a general flow that it's like, yeah, man, I'm a very capable basketball player, and I will be a solid NBA rotation player, and who knows beyond that.
Yeah, man. Like he greases the whole offense when he's out there. It just looks better. There's more movement. There's more stuff going on, and he can keep a possession flowing, right? It doesn't just come to him and die because he shoots or sort of just resets the offense. Like he can drive and make the next thing happen, force the next rotation, create a shot. Like it's good, man. I'm really enjoying the Gradey Dick experience so far. That is the clear good from this game for me. Big V, what was your good?
I mean, Scottie,
yeah. Pretty cool. He's just awesome now. It's pretty great.
Yeah. And again, I go back to like the force that he's playing with. And he's talked about, the conditioning aspect and really focusing on that in the summer. And it looks like he has the confidence to just keep pushing, right? And like every time the team needs a lift, you can just see him being like, okay, let's go. Let's try and make something happen here. And he's got the energy to do it. And so I think that's the biggest thing for me. And I think obviously when the team's not shooting well, it's going to give you opportunities to really mix it up and get in on the glass and 4 offensive rebounds. But I thought that's part of the battle, right? And being like, hey, I'm going to do whatever it takes. And he has the tools to be a whatever it takes guy. Right.
For sure.
It's like, hey, okay, we need some playmaking. Okay. We need some post play. Okay. We need some offensive rebounding. Okay. And so I think that will be my good for sure.
As someone who long resisted all the scientific evidence that says exercise is good, having good conditioning is good for you, I had the realization, like this year, last couple of years, that actually it is good. Those people were right. Those losers, they were right. Seems like Scottie Barnes is having that revelation now, and I'm very glad for him. By the way, can we do just like some voice acting for a second? I want to know, what was the sound you made when Scottie Barnes hit that pull-up 3 in transition in this game? Mine was more of a huh?
This is great podcasting.
Really good podcasting. Some of the best we've ever done, I'd argue. Let's go to the bad outside of our podcasting. What was your bad?
The bad. I mean,
yeah, let me flip through my encyclopedia's worth of notes on this one.
Yeah,
there was a lot.
No, I think it's just like when you see Gary have a game like this.
Yeah,
it's rough, and I think there was energy, there was intensity in previous games, and I think he was a little flat in this one. And I think the best thing that can happen with Gradey is having like someone push him, someone challenge him, and by no means am I saying that like Gradey didn't earn his minutes. He absolutely did, but at the same time, it'd also just be nice to have 2 shooters out on the court at the same time.
That's what I'm saying, man. I like that lineup. Gary was my bad as well. Just really bad in this game. And look, like, what are you gonna do? Trade Gary Trent Jr. right now? You need his shooting. They don't have it, and he, in theory, does have it. Like, you have to have him on the floor for now to try to make this thing work. And I like the idea. Darko's a few times gone to the lineup with Dennis, Pascal, and Yak sort of as like the 3 pillars, with Gradey and Gary in there as spacing. And you'd think, hey, like, that makes sense conceptually as a lineup. Pascal's been defending his ass off so far this season. He can be your kind of lead wing guy and cover up for Gradey and Gary in that spot. We know Dennis is an awesome point of attack guy. Yak can be your backline rim protector, but those guys aren't hitting shots, and so that lineup has not produced what I think it can produce. Again, Gradey does a lot of other stuff. I'm not seeing Gary Trent Jr. do that other stuff, and so he's got to figure it out. He's extremely important to this team. I had him ranked as the number 4 most important player on this team when I did my power ranking a couple weeks ago because of the shooting. If he's going to play like this, they're not going to win many basketball games. What was your Let's round it out with your
I think the for me is probably, how much do you actually borrow from last season?
Right.
How much do you need to have Pascal be the guy? How much?
Or just have Pascal and Scottie hunt mismatches. Like, they're good at it. I don't know. Post-ups, they're good at post-ups.
How much how much do you bring back some of that aggression on defense, right? And like picking and choosing, hey, these guys are susceptible to double teams. Like, hey, say you go up against the Bucks. I mean, listen, you can't, you absolutely can't, put too many guys on Chris Middleton anymore because there's Damian Lillard to worry about. But I think those opportunities, right, and recognizing, hey, these guys are susceptible to ball pressure and things of that nature. That's where I think you've just got to lean into that and just recognize that it is going to be a strength. And so, that's my is like, hey, what are the parts of last season where we can still have good vibes? And we can just,
everyone can like coming to work and not dislike their boss, and also run some of the old boss's schemes, and it could be fine, right?
Exactly.
We did the exercise of making the sound that we made when Scottie Barnes hit that pull-up 3. Oddly enough, the name of the segment is the sound I made watching Malcolm Brogdon play in this game. can they kick up that trade thing again? Obviously, a couple summers ago, that was like a thing that was out there. He chose, quote unquote, the Celtics over the Raptors, even though it was a trade. I never really understood that. I don't think there is choice in trades, but we can leave that for another day. Boy, oh boy, would a guy like Malcolm Brogdon look really bloody good on this team, taking up the Malachi Flynn minutes, shooting threes. Threes? Ever heard of them? You might have forgotten. That'd be pretty fun. I would not be opposed if they could dial up the Blazers, although it seems like they're not so upset having Malcolm Brogdon around. It's also game 4, and trades are so far down the line that it's silly I'm talking about it, but I saved it for the end of the show so as to not sound like a total lunatic. Big V, that's going to do it for today. We will leave it there. Anything you want to promote for the good people out there?
The usual stuff. I will be doing general NBA stuff for Sportsnet. I will be doing Raptors stuff for Yahoo. And so you can keep an eye out for that in the coming days and weeks and months and however long the Raptors go, which will likely be mid-April.
Oh, man. Great stuff. We're having a great time already, aren't we? I miss when they won a lot of games and were always above 500. That was cool. Anyway, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for tuning into today's show. We'll be back again on a Wednesday as we dive into, who knows? Katie Hine will be along. We'll have fun. It'll be a good show. What will we talk about? It's a mystery to me. We'll find out, see what brings itself to us as content between now and then. Thank you, though, for subscribing, following, rating, reviewing, telling a friend. It's much appreciated when you do that and support the show. And we will leave it there. We'll talk to you again Wednesday with an episode of Locked On Raptors. Thanks for hanging. Bye-bye.